Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel with another EVE Online video. So today I'm going to show you guys my preferred way of making 300 million ISK an hour, and it may or may not involve strapping on 4.5 billion ISK to my booty and jumping into T5 gamma filaments. But before we get into all that, we've got two things to talk about today. First things first, I made EVE partners, so thank you so much all of my community for supporting me in this. It's really because of you guys, because you watch my content, because you enjoy it, you comment and everything on it, you engage with it. That wouldn't have been possible without you guys. So to say a big thank you, I will have a skin to give away later in this video. Watch to find out how you can get your hands on that one. Now, additionally, on top of that, in my last video, I was doing a video where I take the Caldari Neve hook bill into the abyss, and I took it into filaments, increasing difficulty to see how far I could take it. And I do want to congratulate Void Strider for winning the ship, the fully fitted ship. So this is exactly what he won here. Let me just show you guys. So Caldari Neve hook bill, fully fitted, a little bit blinged out with a few Dead Space modules and stuff like that. 200 million ISK in total. So Void Strider, I'm going to be getting in touch with you in game to find out where you'd like me to deliver that for you. Now, before we jump into the meat of the video, if you guys enjoyed this type of content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, show me your support. Let me know what you think of this video. All right, so my general philosophy when I play this game and when I run the Abyss is to not cut corners on my fit. I started playing about a year ago, pretty much exactly a year ago now. And obviously, just like a bunch of you guys, I tried to figure out, all right, how do you make ISK in this game? Like, obviously, it's such a big part of the game. What's the best way to make ISK? And, you know, you do a few Google searches, stuff like that. You go on EVE University Wiki and whatever. And you find out that for a long time, the best way to make ISK was actually ratting in nullsec. And then you find the fits for carrier ratting and stuff like that in nullsec to make like 200, maybe 250 million ISK an hour. And then you look at the cost of that, and typically those fits are like 3 to 5 billion ISK to have a good ratting fit in nullsec. And on top of that, to skill up to it, it takes like 3 years of gameplay, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? So I always compare my fits in the Abyss to what it used to cost to make that much ISK per hour. So that's why when I run the Abyss, I really don't cut corners. And this is what you guys are going to see with this fit that's over here. So let's go over it together. But before we go over the fit, let me just show you guys what the result of doing tier 5 filaments looks like, okay? Because this is something that you can look at the Abyss tracker and all these different kind of things, but until you start doing it, you don't really realize what you're looking at exactly. So I have a bunch of stuff here, and what I did is I put all of this into EVE Appraisal. It gave me pretty much the exact number you guys see here as my best sell scenario, if I can get the most money for all of this. And the worst scenario was about 1.15 billion ISK. Now, if you take this and you divide it by the 14 filaments that I had to run to get all of this loot, it gives you about an average of 85 million ISK per filament. And some of you guys are going to think that that's fairly high, but what this involves is that I'm looting every single can in the filament. Or maybe there was once that I didn't loot one of the nodes, but other than that, I'm looting absolutely everything. And that's how you make a lot of ISK in the Abyss, is if you can loot everything. Now, additionally, doing these filaments, I always come out in between 13 and about 16 minutes per filament in my fit to do these. So if you say we round it up to about 15 minutes on average per filament, it means I can run 4 per hour. And if you do the math on that, then that's about 340 million ISK minus my filament cost. So let's find out here. So for 3 filament, 22. So for 4 would be about 30. So there you go, right around 300 million ISK an hour. And if you guys take a look at the Abyss tracker, you'll see similar numbers for tier 5 gamma fits or tier 5 fits in general. The ones that are more expensive, they're able to run the filaments a little bit faster, and you're able to make a little bit more ISK. So let's go over the fit itself. Right now, currently, I'm sitting in my ship and I have all the implants in and everything else. And this is what we're looking at. So for the ship itself, and what's in the cargo hold, 1.1 billion ISK, which I'm going to show you guys what that is in a sec. 111 HP per second. But what this is, it's really a buffer fit. Because the way I look at this too is that sooner or later, someone's going to try to find me and they are going to try to blow me up. There's going to be a group of gankers. They're going to show up in tornadoes, whatever it is, right? That's what we referred to as the fourth room. The fourth room is you come out of the filament, and there's a group of gankers waiting for you. And this is how you survive, by having a massive buffer fit, all right? So the fit itself, very similar to my T4 gamma filament fit. There we go, you guys see this? Yeah, okay. So we've got our heavy missile launcher in the highs to blow up the nodes. We've got 3 rapid light missile launchers too. And then we have a small tractor beam. And I'll show you guys how I use this a little bit later on. We have 3 Republic Shield, large shield extenders, 1 C-type afterburner. You can choose the Corellum or the Gistum, doesn't really change anything. I'm actually running a Republic Fleet cap battery. You could run a Tucker as well. We have a C-type, Pitum C-type shield hardener, and then we also have our 3 faction drone amps, and then our field extenders in the rigs. Missiles themselves, I like to use the Nova Fury for the light missile launchers, and I like to use either the kinetic or the thermal heavy missiles so that you get the Gila bonuses applied to it. Makes it easier to blow up the nodes, makes it easier to get to the right amount of DPS to blow up the nodes in one shot. Now in terms of implants for this fit, so what I'm showing you guys here is without the implants. Now let me show you with implants. We are looking at 4.4 rounded up to 4.5 billion ISK, and I'm using all high grade Nirvanas. On top of that, I'm also using the shield management 5%, shield operation 5%. So this one gives you an extra 5% capacity to your shield. This one gives you an extra 5% or reduces your shield recharge rate by 5%. And then the custom navigation hyperlink as well for a sweet speed of 736 meters per second. This extra speed comes in really handy against the 2 harder spawns, which are the Marshal and the Karen. So the beautiful thing about this fit is that it's so over tanked that every time I come into a new room, I think immediately, how can I do this room as fast as possible? Now, if I'm coming into a room with a lot of high DPS enemies, I am going to target those down first, but as soon as the nodes come into range, I'm going to start blowing them up as well. And all that happens while I'm making my way towards the gate. Now, sometimes what will happen is you come in, there's a bunch of webs. I might handle the webs first, because if the gate is really far away, the longer it takes me to drop off the pack rat MTU, which I have in the cargo hold, the longer it takes them to start bringing in the nodes that are far away, and the longer I'll have to stay in that room to collect everything, right? So I'm always thinking about that when I come into the room. And sometimes what will happen is you have some ships that are sensor dampening you, and it means that you can't target the nodes that are typically within your targetable range and blowing up range. And sometimes you'll have guidance disruptors on your missiles and stuff like that, and that reduces your missile range, and it means that you can't blow up the nodes that are really far away again. And this means that maybe I'll actually start by prioritizing those targets so that I can start blowing up nodes as fast as possible. It all depends on the room that you come into. It all depends on where the nodes are and everything like that. But it's really when you become good at doing those kind of things that you can save 1.5 to 2 minutes per filament in total and really increase the amount of ISK you can make in the Abyss in TF5 filaments, especially when you're looting absolutely everything. And to answer the question as to whether or not looting all the nodes is worth it, well, I'll show the videos here, but basically looting the nodes in a TF5 filament is like a bit of a lottery. You can get a node that has 200,000 ISK in it, and the most I've gotten in one of the nodes is almost 15 million ISK. But overall, I'd say the average per nodes in tier 5 filaments is probably around 5 or 6 million ISK. All right, now let's talk about the other reason why I spend 4.5 billion ISK on this fit. And that is because of our good friends, the Marshals. So if you guys have watched my tier 4 Gamma video, you probably recognize the spreadsheet. So this is where I actually broke down the different spawns, the different Marshal spawns that can come in tier 4 and tier 5 filaments. And basically made a spreadsheet to understand exactly what would happen to my ship with perfect target priority based on figures of incoming DPS that I've seen myself through my own play and everything else. So what we have here on the left is my shield. Now this is not the total shield HP that I can have on the ship. This is my shields at about 85% because I never assume that I come into a room full shields or anything like that. Then I have a nice little formula here that adds for every new second of gameplay, adds 168 HP, which is my shield recharge rate. Now I do understand that the shield recharge rate is not linear. It's actually exponential the closer you get to about 30% of the shield. Okay, incoming DPS here, this is the DPS of everything combined. However, this is based off of the figure of moving at 650 meters per second, which we know that I'm actually moving in this Gila at about 736 meters per second. So that's going to reduce this DPS by about 10 to 15%. Okay, so that's actually a fairly big difference. After that, what we have here is 2 drainers and 3 attacker marshals. We know because of RNG in this game that you can get 1 marshal per tier of Abyss filament. So in tier 5 filaments, it stands to reason the worst you get is 5 marshals. Now, I've never gotten that myself. I've gotten close to it, but not quite the 5 marshals. And I don't know if you would get the support ships with it or not. Okay, so I really went sort of like worst case scenario. We get 2 marker pacifiers and an attacker pacifier. These guys target paint you. So they're actually going to be your first target priority, okay, for a few different reasons. when you come into the room, or at least the way I do it when I come into these rooms and the way I would do it with this spawn, is you start making your way towards the gate, and I would hit to orbit the gate at 10 or 15 kilometer distance. And the reason why is just so that I can stop focusing on where I'm going, where I'm moving, and everything else, and I can just manage all the other things that are going on at the same time, right? The other reason is simply because if you can start moving right away in a straight line as much as possible and then orbit something at about 15 kilometer distance, that's when you'll retain the most speed. And since all of these attacks rely on explosion radius of the missile explosion versus the radius or the signature radius of your ship and the speed at which you're moving and all those things, we know that the faster you move, the less damage you'll take from all these guys, right? So then I come into the room, I do that, I orbit the gate or whatever at 10, 15 kilometers. I would also overheat the afterburner right away. When you overheat an afterburner in this fit, I think you get about 35 to 40 seconds before it burns out. Okay, or before you have to turn it off, which is typically going to damage it to like 60 or 70%. It is a risk because you don't want to burn it. If you burn it, you can't use it anymore. You're going to be sitting duck and you're going to get blown up fairly quickly. But that would be my strategy. So I overheat the afterburner, start making my way over there. Now, the marker pacifiers, they're going to come towards you fairly quickly. So they're going to be in range of both your drones and your missiles, your light missiles really, really quickly. So I would target those downs also because it takes very little time to kill one at 700 DPS. So if you kill these really quickly, you stop being target painted and you actually take a lot less damage from the heavy missiles that the marshals are shooting at you. Okay, so what we have here is I take out the 2 marker pacifiers first, and then after that I start working on the drainer marshals. Okay, because at this point too, by then you're probably in range. Your light missiles are in range of the marshals, so you start working those down as well. With the fit currently the way it is, you wouldn't really get drained out completely before you can take out the 2 drainer marshals, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. And then you can take on the other marshals as well. Okay, and we can see here with the current scenario, you would almost touch into armor a little bit, but if you overheat your afterburner, if you're moving at over 700 meters per second, it would actually be a slightly better result than this. You'd probably come out with about 10k shield or maybe a little bit more left as well. Okay, so this is the other reason why I spend 4.5 billion ISK on my fit. Now, I am fairly lucky to have a very stable internet, and I've only ever been disconnected once in the Abyss. For sure, if I was playing with a really patchy internet, I might not spend 4.5 billion ISK on my fits. But that's not really an issue for me, so I don't really have to worry about that, and I'm very grateful for that. And finally, the last spawn that's definitely still a bit of a pain in the ass is the Karen spawn. I guess at the end of the day, that's why it's called that. And I still really don't know how to do it faster than about 7 minutes. What I typically do is I'll take a flight path. The second I come into the room, I take a flight path that will bring me really close, like a straight line as much as possible towards the Charybdis Tyrannos. But that's going to bring me really close to the gate so that I can drop off the MTU on my way to her. Once again, if there's some nodes that are within range, I'll blow them up with the heavy missile launcher, while the light missiles and the drones are actually taking on the support ships. Now, if we get a lot of those cruisers, I think you pronounce it Ephialtes Lancers and stuff like that, I like to bring the augmented Valkyries for those, simply because they do the most damage, and those ships have such low resistance profiles anyways. You just want something that does a whole lot of DPS to take them out as fast as possible. Typically, while I do this, I've overheated the afterburner, so I try to get to the Karen and try to get into an orbit around the Karen as fast as possible. But no matter what I do, in best cases, it always takes me at least 7 minutes to complete this room, no matter what. So you guys that have more experience than I do, let me know in the comments what you think is the best way to do those. All right, and now it's time to talk about that skin that I mentioned earlier. All right, guys, so here's what we're going to do for the skin. Currently, it is in a small secure container, which is anchored right beside a moon, so you just have to warp to 0. It is a moon around the 5th planet of a 0.5 system that is 2 jumps away from Dodixie, so those are the hints you're going to get. The moon itself, the number of the moon is the same number as the number of videos that I have that relate to EVE Online on my channel, inclusive of this video. So good luck to you guys. May the best one find it. And if you guys like this type of content, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Peace out and fly safe.